Motivation, determination, desire, drive to perform well, to succeed. And usually we're talking about enthusiasm for this to happen. There's many different factors that impact motivation. During this lesson, think about what are some things that motivate you. We will examine the different types of motivation and what are some factors that impact motivation. First, let's examine motivation in our brain. In our brain, we have the limbic system, which is responsible for things such as our emotions, regulating emotions, memories. This is why it's extremely important that we have small successes to help build on, to motivate us to future success. So finding out what works for us in motivation will help us drive the things that will help our brain contribute to more success and more motivation. There are two main types of motivation or motivators. Extrinsic, which is usually external objects, things such as awards. It might be fear of failure. The problem with extrinsic motivators is they're usually temporary. That's the old carrot, leading us along. I hear a lot of students all the time would say, well, once I start making money, once you leave school and start making money, that's going to motivate them. Yes, it is a motivator, but again, it's not a long-term motivator. It's, again, the carrot on the stick that's bringing you along. For long-term success, as far as motivators, we have to look at intrinsic or internal motivators. This is having a sense of purpose, goals, feeling good about yourself, feeling success, doing it for the love or the passion of what you're doing. There are many factors that affect motivation. We're going to look at a few of those. One strong intrinsic motivator is setting goals, because that gives us some direction, gives us some things to aim for as we're going through. But if we're going to set goals, we have to make them effective. And one technique we use is SMART goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and some type of time constraint. Specific, exactly what you want to happen. Measurable, that means, for example, I will bench press 100 pounds. You know exactly what the measurement is. Achievable, can I actually do it? Relevant, is it tied into what I want to do? And time bound, there should be some deadline for when I'm going to reach this goal. Setting an effective goal can help motivate you to work toward what you're trying to achieve. A couple other factors that affect motivation are reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcement, we try to increase the frequency of the desired behavior. So let's say for hitting, you want the player to shift their weight. Positive stimulus, every time they do that, you might praise them, and it could reinforce that behavior. Negative, you remove the stimulus. So every time that they do the behavior, you might reduce the amount of practice that they have to do for shifting their weight. Punishment, let's say a player breaks a team rule. Positive punishment is when we might reprimand that person in front of the team. Negative punishment might be removing the stimulus. We might reduce their playing time with negative punishment. Again, punishment, we're trying to decrease the frequency of the undesired behavior. Some other factors that affect motivation: cognitive flexibility. That's our ability to adjust our behaviors based on changing conditions. If you see in the cartoon, he's talking about how he teaches his kids basically that life is black and white, and the little dog saying, well, that doesn't really teach them how to think. Cognitive flexibility, we want to be able to adjust those situations. So positive motivation, reinforcement, can help promote being able to adjust to the different stimulus and different things in many different changing situations. Incentives, sports is a great example for that. The harder you work, the more you improve the more your playing time might increase. So again, extrinsic motivator, that's something external. That's a quick incentive that you can relate to as far as athletics. So playing time. Also for our performance, there's different arousal levels. So depending on our sport, sometimes it's better to have during golf, for example, where it's a fine motor skill. You don't want a huge arousal level. For more gross motor skills, for example, football, you might want to be more hyped up for the event. Now you can see on the graph that we come to a point where there's the best arousal level for performance. If we go beyond that, we tend to have too much stress and it can impact our performance. So the activity, again, golf versus football, the skill level, a more practiced or advanced athlete is going to do better with arousal levels than a beginner. And personality, usually extroverts or outgoing people do better with higher arousal than introverts. In summary, what is motivation? Motivation is that desire, that determination, that drive to perform well, to succeed. Usually involves a lot of enthusiasm, passion. The two main types of motivation we have are extrinsic motivation, which is your external things like trophies, awards, fears. Intrinsic motivation or internal motivation are things like goal setting, purpose, that passion for the activities. Some factors that would affect motivation: goal setting, reinforcement, punishment, incentives, cognitive flexibility, arousal levels. Those are all going to impact our motivations. Habits are important. I love the block to the right. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So if we want to be consistent, persistent at our activities, we need to make those habits. I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, think about what are some things that motivate you? What are some things that drive you? And this week, think about your activities, your practices, and how can you incorporate some things to motivate yourself to improve your performance. And good luck with using those techniques.